My parents' marriage was put together by a rabbi of a high order who goes to each of the parents and sees about the dowry and arranges the marriage contract properly according to Jewish law, which meant love had nothing to do with it. See, my mother's family had all the class and money. Tate, I don't know where his family was from. Mama was his meal ticket to America, and once he got here, he was done with her. He came here under the sponsorship of my mother's eldest sister, Laurie, and her husband, Paul Schiffman. You couldn't just walk into America. You had to have a sponsor, someone who would say, I'll vouch for this person. He came first, and after a few months sent for his family, me, Mama, and my older brother, Sam. I was 2 years old, and Sam was 4 when we arrived, so I don't remember anything about our long, perilous journey to America other than what I've seen in the movies. I have a legal paper in the shoebox under my bed that says I arrived here on August 23, 1923, on a steamer called the Ostergeist. I kept that paper on my person whenever I went for over 20 years. That was my protection. I didn't want them to throw me out. Who? Anybody. The government, my father, anybody. I thought they could throw you out of America like they throw you out of a baseball game. My father would say, I'm a citizen and you're not. I can send you back to Europe anytime I want. He used to threaten us with that, to send us back to Europe, especially my mother, because she was the last of her family to get here, and she had spent a good deal of her life running from Russian soldiers in Poland. She used to talk about the Tsar or the Kaiser and how the Russian soldiers would come into the village and line up the Jews and shoot them in cold blood. I had to run for my life, she used to say. I held you and your brother in my arms as I ran. She was terrified of Europe and happy to be in America. When we first got off the boat, we lived with my grandparents, Zeta and Buba, on 115th and St. Nicholas in Manhattan. Although I was a tiny child, I remember Zeta well. He had a long beard and was jolly and always seemed to be drinking hot tea out of a glass. All the men in my family had long beards. Zeta kept a picture of himself and my grandmother on his bureau. It was taken while they were in Europe. They were standing side by side, Zeta wearing a black suit with a hat and beard, and Buba wearing a wig, or chateau, as was the religious custom. Buba was bald underneath that wig, I believe. That's why women were supposed to keep their heads covered. They were bald. I enjoyed my grandparents. They were warm and I loved them the way any grandchild loves a grandparent. He kept a clean, comfortable apartment furnished with heavy, dark mahogany pieces. Their dining room table was covered with a sparkling white lace tablecloth at all times. They were strictly Orthodox and ate kosher every day. You don't know anything about kosher. You think it's a halva candy bar. You need to read up on it because I ain't no expert. They got folks who write whole books about it. Go find them and ask them. Or read the Bible. Shoot, who am I? I ain't nobody. I can't be telling the world this. I don't know. The way we did it, you had different table settings for every meal. Different tablecloths, different dishes, forks, spoons, knives, everything. And you couldn't mix your meals. Like you had your dairy meals and your meat meals. So you eat all dairy one meal and all meat the next. No mixing it up. No pork either. No pork chops with salad. No bacon and eggs. Forget all that. You had to sit your butt down and eat what you were supposed to and do what you were supposed to. You used a special type of tablecloth for dairy meals because you could clean it with a simple dish rag as opposed to washing it. Then every Friday evening at sundown you had to light your candles and pray the Sabbath began. That lasted till sundown Saturday. No light switches could be turned on or off. No tearing of paper, no riding in cars or going to the movies. Not even a simple thing like lighting a stove. You had to sit tight and read by candlelight, or just sit tight. For me, that was the hardest thing, sitting tight. Even as a girl, I was a runner. I liked to get out of the house and go, run. The only thing I was allowed to do on the Sabbath was read romance magazines. I did that for years. I remember when Zeta died in the apartment. I don't know how he died, he just died. In those days, people didn't linger and fool around like people do now, with tubes hanging out of their mouths and making doctors rich and all of this. They just died. Dead. Why? Well, he was dead, honey. They laid him out on his bed and brought his children into his bedroom to look at him. They had to lift me and my brother Sam off the floor to see him. His beard lay flat on his chest and his hands were folded. He had a little black tie on. He seemed asleep. I remember saying to myself that he couldn't possibly be dead because it seemed not too long before that he'd been alive and joking and being silly, and now here he was, dead as a rock. They buried him before sundown that day, and we sat shiva for him. All the mirrors in the house were covered. The adults covered their heads. Everyone sat on boxes. My grandmother wore black for a long time afterwards. But I felt they were burying him too quick. I wanted to ask someone, suppose Zeta isn't dead. Suppose he's joking and wakes up to find out he's buried. But a child in my family didn't ask questions. You did what you were told. You obeyed. Period. I always remembered that, and I think that's why I'm claustrophobic today, because I didn't know what death was. My family didn't talk of death. You weren't allowed to say the word. The old-time Jews, they'd spit on the floor when they said the word death in Yiddish. I don't know if it was superstition or what, but if my father said death, you can bet 2 seconds later spit would be flying out of his mouth. Why? Why not? He could throw up on the floor in his house and no one was allowed to say a word to him. Why he'd spit, I do not know, but when my grandfather passed away, I kept asking myself, suppose Zeta isn't dead, then what? And he's surrounded by all those dead people too, and he's still alive? Lord, anything that's too close to him makes me feel like I can't breathe and I'm going to die. That's why I tell y'all to make sure I'm dead when I die. Kick me and pinch me and make sure I'm gone, because the thought of being buried alive, lying there all smushed up and smothered and surrounded by dead people and I'm still alive, Lord, that scares me to death. One discussion question is, why is Ruth's dad always so mean? Why can he not have compassion? So basically he was forced into an arranged marriage with Ruth's mother instead of being loved, so he felt that Mama was just someone who can get him into America rather than someone that he